So I made a video that's be coming out really shortly about past Valorant tournament winners. And it was really eye-opening and sad at the same time that even winning Valorant's grand prize doesn't guarantee you a long career in the esports scene. But I'm not really someone who likes to make depressing and hateful videos. So to balance that out, I want to compile a lot of options that pro players still have after they retire. One of which is content creation, which is a no-duh for people. I do want to mention this first because I think for the majority of pro players, it's probably not the best option for you for a number of reasons, which I will get into later as to why. But of course, you have platforms like YouTube, Twitch, Kick, maybe Rumble. I'm not too sure about Rumble, right? But we've seen a lot of examples of pro players making that jump seamlessly from retirement to content creation. Recently, it's been tens, but you have the likes of Tarek, Shroud, and briefly Finesse. However, like I said earlier, it's not really for everyone, you know? Like, if you're not building your brand while you're at the top, it's kind of hard to make that transition into retirement a legit thing. Let's say for people like Whippy or Jake who didn't really stay in tier 1 for that long, if they try to make that jump from pro play to content creation, chances are they won't be all that successful. Whereas someone like Tens is probably making more money as a content creator than he did as a pro player, especially if you're trying to make content creation in Valorant, which might be one of the hardest and worst games to pick to do so. At least games that are dubbed as forever games that won't die. Mainly because YouTube does not pay Valorant creators that much. First thing you got to realize, you're in the gaming niche, and gaming niches typically don't generate that much revenue on YouTube. And two, you got to realize that Valorant is a global game that has its pros and cons. One of the cons being that not every country is seen as a moneymaker in YouTube's eye. Mainly talking about the Southeast Asian countries where your RPM can be literally pennies on the dollar, sometimes less than a penny. It's also kind of hard to make unique and creative video ideas in Valorant. I also remember Is Timmy talking about how the Valorant community don't give a lot of subs or donate money compared to other games that he's played. Yes, he's mainly an Apex gamer, but he's done other battle royales too, and he's mentioned that he notices a major drop in donations when he's playing Valorant. But the beautiful thing about content creation is that you don't have to follow a rule book. There actually isn't a rule book necessarily. You have free range to do whatever you want. Like me personally, I was exposed to Shroud during his Battle Royale days. It was like months into me watching his streams that I was like, oh, he used to be a pro player in CSGO? I never knew. So that's one of the beautiful things with content creation is that once you have a pretty solid base of people who are willing to watch you, you can jump ship and do whatever the heck you want to, like XQC. But of course, not every pro player will reach those heights. And just to put into perspective how hard it is to make a living off of Valorant YouTube, I'm someone who gets around 50% retention time on my like 10-minute long videos. So I'm double dipping into that ad revenue. And if you're watching a YouTuber who also makes around a 10-minute long video, just know that if they're not getting well over 200K views per week, they're slightly around the poverty line in America, at least when it comes to American standards. Maybe somewhere else in the world, it could be a lot more lucrative and you can have a more comfortable life. But 200K views a week on 10-minute long Valorant videos isn't going to give you a good life. However, if you are someone who was able to get to the tier 1 stage of Valorant and are thinking about retiring either because you want to or you were forced out of the league, then the idea of playing Valorant for a college or university might be a good idea. Especially seeing how college degrees are mad expensive. There are a number of universities offering partial or even full rides for their Valorant programs. And I'm not trying to talk down on trades, learning a trade like carpentry, but you can't get a full ride for carpentry school by playing Valorant. And having a college degree, depending on what you do with that degree, can really open the doors to a more stable life after retirement. And I think college is also a great place to network. You know, I mentioned this in certain past videos, but it's not always what you do, it's who you know that can really determine how successful you are in life. And college is a great place to start networking with people, especially if you could come out of it without having debt. I believe there was like some kind of study that said the average college debt was like 70K, but a lot of universities and schools, especially the high-end ones, people leave with almost $500,000 of debt, which is crazy to me. And if you can avoid that while getting a college degree, then you're still winning in life, trust me. Another decent career option would be to stick around the esports scene as maybe a coach, analyst, and or consultant. Being a coach for Valorant, again, is going to be hard because there's only so many spots available, but you can try to maybe be an assistant coach, an analyst too. It's not the easiest job in the world. Like if you ever saw Kaplan during Masters Madrid, you can tell that man didn't get a lot of sleep at all. But there are still like a lot of roles that you can fill in when it comes to esports, like being a manager, esports director, or even salesperson. But like I did say earlier, you can possibly be an esports agent or lawyer. I watched this guy called Devin Nash.
Okay. The worst position in esports or gaming at all to be successful in, like to have a chance to be successful, is to be a streamer or content creator. Straight up.
Said after the esport bubble popped, a lot of agents and lawyers kind of like left the scene because the money kind of went away. And there's a lot of players who aren't really representing themselves pretty well. I know being a lawyer is kind of like a lofty goal and hard to do, but being an agent isn't the worst thing imaginable, as long as you know how to represent other people in the process, especially since pro players already know the inner workings of the esports scene. But first, a word from today's sponsors. Mini Heroes, Summoner's War. Recruit, command, and conquer in this story-driven adventure that has over 30 chapters and challenging bosses. It has something for both casuals and obsessive players, whether it is PvE or PvP. You can also play anytime, anywhere on your phone or even PC with certain websites. So you can bust out this bad boy for those moments where you're bored or maybe have a long queue time in game. It's a strategy based to keep your brain active as well. Be sure to click the link below if you want to check out a game that has rich rewards, free to play, friendly, and over 30 different forces to customize your journey. Thanks again to Mini Heroes, Summoner's War for this sponsorship. Also, pro players can work for the companies that they're competing in too. I remember watching one of the trailers for Valorant console and I was surprised to see your boy Dre was working with Riot Games. And it kind of just clicked on me. He's like, oh yeah, if you are a pro player, you probably could work for Riot Games. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those people who are doing the showcases for the in-game skins as well as the trailers were former pro players, because they're pretty cracked. Even if it is a setup demonstration, they're still hitting shots that are still pretty impressive in my opinion. So you could be like Dre and try to work for Riot Games. Riot did let him go, but the fact that he worked for the company still looks great on a resume. And this kind of like gets back to like the points that I made previously when it comes to networking. If you want to work for an esports team and or Riot themselves, why not try to establish those relationships now and try your best not to burn potential bridges while you're a pro in Valorant. Yes, there's nothing wrong with giving valid criticism to developers and teams, but just be careful how passionate you are in the process, because you very well could burn a potential job opportunity after you retire. Another aspect that you could work with Riot isn't just development, but you could be an on-air talent. Similar to Baby Bay, your face is going to be in front of thousands, sometimes millions of people. You can use that to actually build a content creation career too. It can be a little bit hard to get to that level, but you could just start in tier 2, tier 3. You might even mess around and do streams where you're the one casting these games. Honestly, if it wasn't for like the ages of some of these casters, they could really be milking the mess out of content creation. It would be pretty hard to get to the tier 1 level, but you can always start at tier 2 and mess around and join a different game that pops off, like maybe Deadlock when that releases. Because a lot of these casters started off in other games like Overwatch and Fortnite. And lastly, you could try to like get into the business side of esports, or just get into business in general and financials, where you could just invest in stuff and have your money make money for you. Zomb is apparently stupid rich, so much so that he's part owner of Sentinels. How much of an owner is he? I don't know. It could be 1%, it could be 20%, but he was smart with his money and has quit pro play altogether. One thing that esports really struggles with is business and sales. If you could be an amazing salesperson, you can go far. And if you could do well as a salesperson and the business aspect after you retire, then you can go far. Because everything that we mentioned beforehand, a good salesperson would thrive in that category. But yeah, if I miss any other opportunities and stuff that people can do, let me know down below. Because I know in CSGO, there's a lot of players who, after they retired, have done a lot of different things. Some sell Chicago pizzas in Russia. I heard one pro player went into the MMA route. Some actually opened up a business and sell cars. So life after pro play, you have so many options. Some could be related to esports, which I think would be the best idea to do. And others could be completely left field. But yeah, if I miss any, let me know down below. Stay safe, be a KDA warrior, and I'll see you later.